We send almost 2 million cold emails every single month, and that results in us booking 5 to 800 sales calls, appointments, and demos across all of our clients. In the last year alone, we generated $31.2 million in pipeline for all of these clients. And there's one thing that I can tell you with complete certainty. The number one reason most cold email campaigns fail is not because of bad copy. It is because of your list. So in this video, I'm breaking down our complete 3-layer data enrichment system that ensures 95% plus accuracy on every single lead list we build. This is the exact process that we've used to build lists for everyone from Fortune 500 companies to SMBs. No matter who you target, this process works exactly the same for all of those industries. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, when it comes to list building, most people just use Apollo or ZoomInfo or Lucia or LinkedIn Sales Navigator as their starting point, and they build what I like to call lazy lists. They just go to the tool of their choice, throw in filters around geographical location, job titles, the size of the company, funding information, and that's it. And whatever they get out of it, they just start blasting emails to all of those people. Now that approach does not work because number one, everybody does it. And number two, most of these platforms have miscategorized most of the leads on their platform. So this is why our system has 3 main layers. I'm going to break down each layer and show you exactly how to implement it using tools you probably already have access to. So the first layer is account level research and enrichment. Now the core problem is that when you build a lazy list, you have zero context, you have zero unique personalization angles that you can use for your leads, and you're working from basically the exact same list as every other cold emailer that used Apollo, ZoomInfo, LinkedIn, whatever. And this leads to you being just another person in a noisy inbox saying, hey, I saw you're a CEO at an HR tech company based in Chicago, because these are the only pieces of information available to you, right? That's what Apollo gives you. So in order to build lists that allow you to write emails that actually get responses, your list building must start at the account level. The first question that you need to ask yourself after you've figured out who your ICP is, where do they hang out online, and where do they want to be seen and discovered by their customers online? Now, before AI, it would be a strenuous task to brainstorm all of this, but now thanks to AI, we've created ChatGPT prompt that will do all of this research for you and spit out a list of directories that you can go to, find your target audience, scrape their information, and run with that so that you're done with this step. If you want to get that ChatGPT prompt, go to the link in the description and go grab that free prompt. It's available completely for free. Go in there, click the link, and you'll have the prompt. Now, let me give you an example of what this looks like in practice, right? Let's say we were reaching out to local businesses, roofing companies, property management, doctors, whatever. Now, I know that if I wanted to find someone like that, first thing I would do is I would open up Google on my phone and I would say, plumbers around me, or dentist near me, or dentist New York, a dentist in Manhattan. And that's exactly what you need to be doing when you're building these lists. So the best way to find your target accounts is to find them the way they would want to be found by a customer. So scraping Google Maps is an absolute superpower if you're targeting local businesses. Now that's obvious, right? A lot of people scrape Google Maps. What can you do to be even more unique? Well, I'll take another example. Let's say you're going after doctors. Now, many doctors, they have different organizations where they like to be listed. For example, we were recently building a list of dentists for a company, and we were like, okay, you know what? Different dentists offer different services. Let's go after dentists that offer clear aligner services. So we found a directory for the American Association of Clear Aligners, and we scraped that directory, and lo and behold, we found a list of dentists or their names, the names of their clinics, and we knew for a fact that all of them offer clear aligners to their patients. So now this allowed us to create relevant messaging, because now in our messaging we could talk not just about helping them get random generic patients, but about helping them get clear aligner patients. We were also able to call out the fact that we found them on the clear aligners directory, which increased our response rates. You know, this campaign targeting clear aligners, like dentists on that directory, got 4 times higher response rates than our regular campaign that was running to generic dentists. So that's how powerful directory scraping. So bottom line, layer 1, finding accounts in your ICP. Step 1A is figuring out where your ICP hangs out and choosing some of these directories. Easiest way to do this is using the ChatGPT prompt in the description. Now let's move on to step 1B, which is once you identify the directory, now you need to scrape all of the people listed on that, all of the businesses inside that directory. Again, there's several ways to do it. We've built custom scrapers for hundreds of different directories, but you don't have to be that advanced. You can use tools like Instant Data Scraper, which is an extension, or you can use CloudCowork to collect all the information from a directory. Both of those are very viable options. So the thing here with step 1B, scraping and cleaning the data, is oftentimes these directories will only give you the name of the company, right? You won't get their phone number, you won't get their email address, you won't always get their website. So the next step, step 1C, is enriching these companies with company level data. And the easiest way to do it is by first finding the website using the company name. Now I recorded a video showing you exactly how to do this, but essentially you use Clay along with the Clearbit API and Claygent to Google these companies and identify the website from the list of Google search results. So this is how you get all the websites for all of the companies in your list. Now a bonus tip for you here is once you have a company's website, you can apply several different layers of personalization to make your messaging more relevant. You can scrape case studies from their website domain. You can use their website domain to find their SEO and traffic related data using SEMrush, SimilarWeb, and StoreLeads. You can use BuildBit to identify what technologies they use to build their website, and so on and so forth. You can use the website to identify whether or not they're running ads on Google. So depending on whatever it is that you're selling, you want to use one of these Clay extensions to add an extra layer of personalization on the account level and not on the personal level. Moving on to step 1D. After you have this list and right before you start working on personalizing and enriching it with contact level information, the first thing you want to do is remove bad fits from this list. Many times when you're scraping directories, especially directories like Google Maps or Yelp, you will end up with businesses that are not a good fit. And the easiest way to weed these out is using Claygent with a simple prompt asking it to identify whether or not a business falls into your target category. So if you're building a list of dentists and you scrape all the dentists, there's a chance you get some nursing homes in there. There's a chance you get some general purpose practices in there. Easiest way to filter those out is creating a Claygent column and having Claygent run through that column and asking Claygent to tell you whether or not this website belongs to a dentist. Once you do that, you classify your list. Now you have a list of accounts that are 100% in your ICP along with powerful, relevant personalization angles that you can use in your email. This takes you to the second layer of your list building process, which is the contact discovery and email enrichment. So now you have all the information that you could possibly need for these accounts and you know these accounts fit your ICP. The next thing you need to do is you want to create another Claygent column and you want to have this Claygent column Google search for the names of owners at these websites. So super simple prompt, find the owner of website, and you run this for the entire column. Now when Claygent makes these Google searches, for most businesses, it's going to find the name of the owner. You only want to do this if you're targeting SMBs. If you're targeting enterprise companies, most of these companies will typically have their owner's information available on LinkedIn. So for most of those, you can just use LinkedIn to find contact information for the owners or decision makers, not owners with enterprises, but decision makers. For SMBs, this information is harder to come by, which is why you need to run Google searches, because even though the owners of these businesses might not be on LinkedIn, most of them have a page on their website. So their names can be found on their website if you run a Google search. So the first step in layer 2, which is layer 2A, is finding the names of the decision makers. So after you have their names and you have their domains, the easiest and the lowest cost method to find their email addresses is by creating a waterfall that uses some of these tools like Git, LeadMagic, Find Email, Prospeo, and any other tools that you like. Most of these tools can take as input a full name and a domain, and they can spit out direct email addresses for your prospects. This should be the first layer that you use when it comes to finding email addresses. Two ways to do it: Google search using Claygent, or use Clay's inbuilt find people function to find people at those companies that match specific criteria. Second option for enterprises, option number 1 for SMBs. You can also mix and match. Technically, you can use both of those options for both types of companies. So for example, with SMBs, you start by searching for the name of the owner on Google, and then for the ones that you cannot find, you can use Clay's find people search. Similarly, with enterprises, you can start with using the find people search, and you can follow it up with Google searching for the decision makers' names. Now, after you've done all of this, you would get the names of decision makers for most of these businesses, but there will still be a small portion of your list where you didn't find any names, right? And because this whole video is about squeezing the maximum juice out of your entire TAM, I'm going to tell you exactly how to utilize those as well. So for the rows in your Clay table where you did not find any names, you're going to reach out to generic emails. Now, this does really well when you're reaching out to smaller companies. With enterprises, you would usually not need to do this because most enterprises, their employees are on LinkedIn. You can find their contact information. And if you cannot find their contact information, chances are you really cannot reach them anywhere. You'll have to use the phone or something else. But with small businesses, a lot of the times the generic emails, the info at, support at, service at, admin at, office at, those types of email addresses are often monitored and managed by the owner themselves. So if you could not find any information about the owner, no name, no email, no LinkedIn profile, it is 100% worth it for you to reach out to those generic addresses in the hopes of reaching the owner. Last year we booked almost 4,000 appointments appointments across all of our clients, and I can very confidently say that a significant percentage of those appointments were booked because we reached out to these generic emails. So do not discount generic emails in your outreach. Similarly, when you run these Google searches, you will realize that sometimes Claygent goes to their Facebook page to find email addresses. Sometimes it goes to their YouTube channel or their Instagram page to find email addresses. That's completely fine. Let Claygent do what it's supposed to do. Let it be your cheap automated researcher and let it find these email addresses. If an email is available publicly, you can reach out to those addresses, even if it's a personal Gmail or Hotmail address. So that was step 2B and 2C combined. Step 2B is if you cannot find a name through Clay People Search, you use Claygent to Google their name. And step 2C is if you cannot find a name, no matter what you do, then you just reach out to generic addresses. Let's move on to the third layer, which is prioritization, validation, and pushing these leads into campaigns. Now, layer 3 is all about how to make sure that you're reaching out to the right leads, lead prioritization, to maximize deliverability, to get more replies and to get more positives, book more appointments. Now, list cleaning is straightforward, right? Step 3A is basic email validation. Anyone that's been doing cold email knows that you need to validate your emails using one of these common reliable email validation tools. So you can use LeadMagic, you can use Million Verifier, Bounce Ban, Zero Bounce, Never Bounce. All of those are reasonably good. The KPI to look for is after you verify your list using these tools, your bounce rates should always stay below 3%. And a word of warning here, do not ever email anyone. No matter where you get their emails from, do not ever email anyone without validating that email address. So after you validated your emails with step 3A, you go to step 3B. And this is key because a lot of people don't do this because they're simply not aware. If you're reaching out to a large list, there's a significant chance that your list includes what we call secure email gateways or SEGs. So now think of SEGs like security guards for email, right? So many companies with IT departments pay these SEGs like Barracuda, Cisco, Mimecast, and Proofpoint to secure their email and to disallow any external email from landing in their user's inbox. What this means for you is that if you try to cold email them and if they identify you as spam, or if even one of their users in the global Barracuda network, for example, marks you as spam, that immediately raises the spam risk for your domain globally, right? So if one person says that your emails are spam, everybody else in the world, their inboxes will start to look at you as spam. If you get a few spam reports from a Barracuda network, consider that domain completely trashed. You will never land in a Barracuda inbox from that domain. So due to this and due to several other factors like SEGs, getting your emails through SEGs filters is difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. And due to this reason, when you're just launching campaigns, you should not be reaching out to SEGs at all. Now, if you're in a market where a large portion of your list uses SEGs, so the larger the companies that you target, the more likely it is that they are using a secure email gateway because they have IT departments and they have to do compliance stuff. So if a significant portion of your list contains email addresses protected by secure email gateways, what you would want to do is when your inboxes are fresh, when you're launching using new domains, you want to first start by emailing people who are not using SEGs. The easiest way to figure out what portion of your list is not using SEGs is by using this free API. Again, you can do all of this within Clay. You create a new column. Let's call this column getMX. You make an API call to this URL along with your prospect's domain. This will return all of the MX records set up on that URL. Then you use this formula to parse which email service is used by this domain. So you'll get results like Google, Outlook, Other, and then you'll get the names of these SEGs. So now from within Clay, you need to score your leads based on the provider they're using. So highest priority of the first leads that you should reach out to should be Google. After that, reach out to Outlook leads, then reach out to leads that are using other infrastructure. And then finally, after you're done with the rest of your list, reach out to the SEGs. The reason we do this is because if you reached out to the SEGs in the beginning, you would kill your chances with Google, Outlook, and other infrastructure providers. So that is why you want to score your list to maximize your odds of getting in front of as many prospects within your target market as possible. That was step 3B. Finally, step 3C, super simple. All you need to do is within Clay, create one additional column, and this column is going to be used for all sanity checks. Right before you push these leads into a Smartlead campaign, you want to create a formula column within Clay that checks for the basics. So it should check that all the fields that you're pushing in the campaign are correct. So there should be no null values. There should be no values where the AI return not found couldn't get get result, failed, unavailable, NA, all of those invalid values, you need to use a formula to make sure that your first name, your company name, your city, your state, whatever variables you're using in a campaign, you need to make sure that all of those variables are clean. You need to ensure that all of those variables have values in a format that would look human. For example, your city names should all be proper case. Your first name should all be proper case, not uppercase or lowercase. So create one formula that does all of this sanity checking. And then after this formula is created, create another column for Smartlead and add a condition where the sanity check should be true or acceptable, and only then push leads to Smartlead. So that's how you go from having no contacts to finding the right accounts, enriching them with the right information, prioritizing and scoring for maximum deliverability, and finally pushing these leads into live Smartlead campaigns. Now this might sound like a lot more work than what you're used to do. And the reason most people don't do it like this is because lazy. It's easy, right? You just go to a tool, throw in a few filters, and then pray 1,000 emails and hope and pray for the best. And the reason our results are so much better than most other people that do outbound, and the reason we won awards for being in the top 1% of Smartlead agencies globally, is because we spend this time cleaning and building our lists. This process also allows you to maximize your deliverability and to protect your senders and your domains, keep them alive and healthy for the longest possible time. And finally, by virtue of doing these first three things, it allows you to get better results from your campaigns because your copy is now more relevant and you're able to use better personalization variables that are actually connected to your offer. So it helps with your positive reply rates and your reply rates. And yeah, sure, this requires a lot more work than exporting something from Apollo. But bear in mind that when you do this work, you only have to do it once, because once you build the list, you can hit that list over and over again. And number two, you're reaching people who are actually relevant, who are actually likely to buy from you. Your emails are topically and thematically aligned with what they care about. You're maximizing deliverability, and it is very likely that you're reaching some people that no one else is able to email because they simply didn't care enough to put in the work to find those hard to find emails. So you're basically covering your entire addressable market and not just whoever happens to be easily available on Apollo. And this is how you get high positive reply rates and better success with outbound. Now, if you want to implement this entire system and you don't want to spend several hours building it from scratch, we can have our team build this whole thing for you, run your campaigns, and just give you qualified sales calls and appointments and demos booked directly on your calendar. If that's something you're interested in, go to the link in the description, hyperke.com/chat, schedule a time to talk, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Hope you have a good one.